Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Never Made It Sport Report. I'm your host, Dylan, and today we got another solo episode and a lot to talk about. Got a lot to cover as far as the NFL games, which were actually good this weekend. We had NHL start yesterday and the MLB playoffs. I made some horrible takes, and now I know that I do not know ball. So I'm going to kick it off with some NFL, talk about some of the games over the weekend, what had gone on, and we'll pivot into MLB and NHL last. So to start off, that Bucks Falcons game was legendary. That game by far was the best game of the week. I think that Thursday night game going to overtime. Kirk Cousins, let's clap it up for the guy real quick. Kirk Cousins had a phenomenal game. The guy went 509 pass yards for 4 touchdowns and only 1 interception. He was the fantasy GOAT of the week. I think he put up about 80 something points in my league. And whoever didn't start him, that was an L. Right now, we are currently in Kirktober, where Kirk Cousins plays with his entire heart during the month of October. So the Falcons, look for them to be spectacular this month during Kirktober. Kirk Cousins is going to play with his whole heart, and I think they go undefeated in the month of October. Bucks, they had that game in the bag. Falcons come back at the end, just like they've done the previous couple of weeks that we've seen them play. They have been coming back. Kirk drives the field, looks like a all-time Hall of Fame quarterback, and wins them that game. So what a great game from Kirk. We'll clap it up one more time for the kid. Kirktober, we're here. And Drake London, the guy had 12 catches, 154 yards for 1 touchdown. Darnell Mooney did his job. Kyle Pitts, the guy was non-existent in fantasy. He did his job this week. I think he put up about 15, 20 points. So good job, Kyle Pitts. He's looked pretty bad. The Falcons did not know how to use him. Kyle Pitts is a true tight end. They line him up as the X receiver or on the outside where he's going against these quick corners that can cover him, lock him down, and he doesn't have quick enough feet to run these routes or get open. They line him up at tight end. First play of the game, the guy goes for about 20 yards. Falcons, what are we doing? We need to start putting a tight end at the tight end position. He's a true tight end. The reason why he hasn't been producing previously in weeks in fantasy and in everything else, he hasn't been getting yards, hasn't been getting catches because they line him up as receiver. Sure, he's kind of built like a receiver. He's tall. He's not as quick, though. So these corners have been locking him down. If you line him up on a linebacker or you have a deep safety, the guy's going to get yards. So hopefully the Falcons figured that out. Bijan Robinson, not looking like a great running back one, but most NFL teams are kind of starting to pivot towards the two punch running back combination. So Falcons, they figured out Bijan's not going to be a true running back one. They're going to split the backfield, and they were able to win that game. We'll see if Bijan does better. I had high expectations going into the season that the guy was going to get close to 2,000 yards rushing and receiving, but right now he's not looking like he's on track. He's in my season-long entry to get over 1,550 yards, and I believe he's at 300 something. So we need to get some more production out of him. Then Young Ho Koo, oh my gosh, the guy misses some field goals. They don't look great last week. Well, he comes back and gets them to overtime in this game to allow Kirk Cousins to drive downfield. I don't know about you guys, but I think I'm part of the Young Ho Koo clutch clan. Young Ho Koo has been clutching games. The guy is unreal right now at kicker. He's doing great. I like Young Ho Koo. That Falcons team is looking great. I think they take that division. The Saints are no longer contenders for that. It's either the Bucks or the Falcons, and I'm riding with the Falcons. So we'll move on. The London game. I had woke up at 5:30 for this game. Game started at 6:30, and we finally see a good defensive back matchup against the Vikings. The Vikings have been killing teams with this great pass attack. They got all these good receivers, good run game. And Aaron Jones, the guy gets injured. I did have a bet with him after last week. I said I wasn't going to bet him. I had him to go over yards, to put him in the end zone, and over carries. He gets hurt in the second quarter. He had a hip injury, went out. No update on if he's going to play this week or what had actually happened. I need to look further into that, but Aaron Jones screwed me once again. I think I need to stick with that no bet list because that hurt. The London game, Rodgers looked horrible. Had a first interception go for a pick six, and he threw 3 total interceptions. Aaron Rodgers, what are we doing? He got his coach fired yesterday. He says he doesn't have as much power as people think he does, but he does. The Jets overpaid for AK, and Aaron Rodgers, man, what are we doing? Like, the guy, he doesn't look good. He's got no chemistry with his team. The receivers aren't great. I'll give him that. But look at the Commanders. Look what they're doing with their receiving core. Look at other teams that are able to win games with not so great of a receiving core. Allen Lazard, he's getting touches. He's getting catches. He's getting yards. Garrett Wilson had his best game yet. Garrett Wilson went for about 10 catches, over 100 yards, and a touchdown. So he looked pretty good. But as we see, the Vikings, they're 5-0. We'll clap it up for them real quick. They looked pretty good. But they finally faced a good team with a good defense. The defensive backs were kind of clamping. Sam Darnold, he didn't have his best game. But now we know that when they go against a good defense, he can be stopped. They pulled out the win, and they move. They're 5-0. Same with the Chiefs now, but I think the Vikings are still a good team. They're still going to compete. I think they're going to have that playoff spot locked in the bag. They're looking really good right now. I believe they're the NFC North and competing with the Packers and the Lions. So we'll see how that division turns out. That's a good division right there. The game of the day, Ravens versus the Bengals. Lamar, 348 yards and 4 touchdowns. Later in life, when I have kids, I hope my daughter's not going to be mad when I name her Lamar, but I will show her the videos and the highlights from this game because then she'll understand why I named my daughter Lamar. Lamar Jackson, that guy looked unreal. He looked like he was playing Black Ops Zombies out there, running away from defenders, getting touched, breaking tackles, throwing for touchdowns. He looked unreal. I was kind of hating on him, saying that Jaden Daniels is better. We'll see them face off against each other this week, but Lamar Jackson, that guy's great. I still think the Ravens win the Super Bowl this year, and I'm all in on it. Lamar turned that team around. Their defense looks good. Joe Burrow, the guy was the second place fantasy goat of the week. I think he put up 75 points in my league, 392 yards for 5 touchdowns, and I believe he had 1 interception. Right now, he's the number 1 rated quarterback in the league as far as stats go, and their team is still 1-4. So the Bengals, I mean, they can turn it around. I haven't seen their schedule. Not sure if they're playing some hard teams or if they can turn their season around. But Jamar also had a good game, 10 catches, 193 yards. Guy almost had 200 and 2 touchdowns. So Jamar, Joe, great connections. They need to clean up that defense over on the Bengals side. They're not doing great right now as far as defense goes, but the offense is buzzing now. Lamar and the Ravens, game of the day. I think the Ravens still win the Super Bowl. Jags, we saw their first win. I told you guys last week the Jaguars would win one this week, and they did. They beat the Colts, and Brian Thomas had a great game. I had him, his usual line is about 55 yards. I had him going over 80. I think he had like 115 or something. I had him going for at least a touchdown. He scored, and I had him over receptions. I believe it was at 4.5 or 5, and I think he had 5 or 6 catches. So Brian Thomas, great game from him. Trevor Lawrence, he looked all right. I mean, not his best game yet, but he's starting to come around a little bit. Joe Flacco, the guy, he has been so consistent. I believe they're putting possibly Anthony Richardson back in the lineup this week. Alec Pierce looked pretty good, but Joe Flacco has so much better accuracy. I think they sit Richardson, have him watch the GOAT, and that team could see the playoffs. But only with Joe Flacco, because right now Anthony Richardson does not have that same accuracy that Joe Flacco has that the Colts need. Jonathan Taylor, I think he went down, so they had Trey Sermon as their main back. They didn't get a lot of rush yards, although they do have the best O-line right now in the league. Didn't get a whole lot of rush yards, so they can be stopped. The Jaguars' defense is good. The only problem with that team is the offense. And right now, they're 1-4. I think they could turn it around. I looked forward at their schedule, and they have a couple hard matchups, but they could go maybe 11-6, I think, and still see playoff potential. So we might see a wild card spot out of the Jaguars. I know they're not doing great right now. 1-6 is not good, or 1-4 is not good, but they could turn it around. They have a potential wild card. Don't sleep on the Jags because they just got their first win. I think they're going to go high into this next week, and they could see the playoffs. The Commanders are on fire. We got to talk about Jaden Daniels. The guy doesn't have great receivers. He uses his legs really well. He's just like the Lamar Jackson. But one thing I'll say about Jaden Daniels is his teammates came out and said, I believe yesterday, that he gets to the facility at 4 a.m. He's already done with his workout and his film by the time the other guys are getting there. There's nobody else who wants it more than Jaden Daniels. I think the Commanders right now leading that NFC division, I think they go and they see a playoff spot. They might make it deep in the playoffs. They're a sleeper team. Right now, the Commanders are doing great. They do face the Ravens this week, who have a great defense, and we get to see that Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels matchup where we're going to see who runs for more yards, who passes better. This is going to be a great game. I'm predicting it now. It's going to be game of the week. So get ready for that one. I'm excited for that game for sure. We had the Bills versus the Texans. Josh Allen, one of the worst games I think I've ever seen the guy play. He went 9 completions on 30 attempts for 131 yards and only 1 touchdown. Still has not thrown an interception. I have him under 12.5 interceptions on the year. I mean, they still have 12 games to go, but he still hasn't thrown an interception. Everyone was talking about his turnover percentage and how bad he is with the turnovers, but so far hasn't thrown an interception. Good job, Josh Allen, for that. But worst game he's played by far that I've seen. Stephon Diggs. I thought this was going to be a revenge game for the Bills or Stephon. One of them was going to do a lot better. It was still a close game. The Bills did lose only by a couple points. And Stephon Diggs went for 82 yards by himself, where the Bills receivers went for 110 yards. The other 21 yards that Josh Allen threw for were 2 running backs. But letting go of Diggs might have been a bad mistake, but I don't know if dealing with his emotional side on the field was worth it. So good job on the Bills for that, but also on Houston for winning that game. Diggs had a great game. No touchdowns, but 82 yards is pretty good. The Bears, are they really good? They faced off against the Panthers this week. We saw the Saints kill them. We saw other teams just absolutely destroy the Panthers. We can't say the Bears are good yet. Sure, they're starting to come around a little bit on offense, but they just faced off against one of the worst defenses in the league. I don't see how Caleb Williams could think that was a spectacular performance. He did have a good game, but they went against the Panthers. So we'll see next week when they play maybe a more decent team if he has the same game. They face a different defense. I just don't see Caleb Williams playing the same. He still makes a lot of mistakes. Their run game looked a lot better, but again, like I said, they went against a pretty bad defense. So hats off to the Bears for that win. They did blow the Panthers out. I did take the Bears this week in my suicide. Through 5 weeks right now, 44 people in the suicide league, and there are 4 left. I thought I was going to pull out the dub on Sunday, get paid, and we had 3 people take the Seahawks. They got upset. We had 1 person take the Niners. They got upset. And 3 people take the Packers, which I was rooting for the Rams. That last drive right there, I could have seen a pass interference there at the end, but they didn't call it. The Packers move on. So there's 4 of us left going into week 6. I need a spectacular pick this week. I don't want to pick a heavy favorite. Right now, underdogs with 6 or more points against the spread are, I believe, 11-6 straight up. And they have a positive record against the spread. So I think they're like I forget the numbers, but I can't take a heavy favorite. I'll be upset if I lose my suicide league to a heavy favorite. So no heavy favorites this week, although I do like Houston against the Patriots, still scares me. I don't think the Patriots win that game. I think Houston still wins, but it's a scary pick. We got Drake May starting this week for the Patriots. Clap it up. The guy might die. We'll have to say a prayer later because that's going to be a tough game for him. That Patriots offensive line is horrible. Ramondre Stevenson, he was told he wasn't going to start. He didn't start for about 5 snaps, and then he plays the rest of the game, scores a touchdown. I think he had the only touchdown for the Patriots. And I have to talk about the touchdown that got called back in the end zone. So the NFL has been making up rules week after week that none of us know about. The Patriots, I believe is Jalen Polk, had caught a ball, got both feet in, and they should have won that game. Well, the touchdown gets called back because I guess if the offensive player is facing the opposite way, they have to get both heels down and not toes. Jalen Polk got both his toes down. They said it wasn't a touchdown because his heels didn't get down, which makes absolutely no sense. So now we're going off of which way a player is facing to determine a touchdown. I don't get it. Patriots should have won that game. Dolphins fans, you know it. I know it. Patriots know it. That should have been a Patriots win. By far the worst game of the week. I did not watch it, but I did get to see the highlights, and that was kind of a bullshit call. I think the Patriots should have won based off that touchdown. Jacoby Brissett doesn't look bad, but I think they want to give Drake May at least a start. I don't agree with them starting him against the Texans, who have a pretty good defense. He might get hurt on Sunday, but hopefully not. Hopefully he has one of the games of the year for the Patriots. Maybe they win. That's the only reason why I'm worried right now about taking Houston over the Patriots, because I haven't seen Drake May play in the NFL yet or have a start. So we'll see how that goes. The Patriots don't have a great offensive line. The receivers, they're not finding any action. Demario Douglas doesn't look bad. Jalen Polk, he doesn't look bad for a rookie. I just think that this team isn't mixing. Maybe Drake May turns it around. So that's why I'll be staying off of Houston this week as a suicide pick. Kind of scares me, although I do want to go all in on Houston, but I'll stay off. The Broncos with a sneaky dub against the Raiders. That's another quarterback situation where they pulled Gardner Minshew out mid-game and put Aiden O'Connell in. Now, Gardner Minshew, I think, is a better quarterback. I think they're not giving him a lot of chances. Devontae Adams still isn't back. They're not mixing well on offense as well, but Aiden O'Connell is not the answer. I think they give Gardner Minshew another couple shots, or we see Aiden O'Connell maybe shit the bed this weekend and they put Gardner back in. But I think Gardner Minshew not starting this week was a bad decision on the Raiders. If they lose, hopefully we see Gardner in week 7. But right now, that's kind of tough that they pulled Gardner Minshew out and Aiden O'Connell starting. The Broncos, Patrick Surtain II. I think he had 2 interceptions. One of them was a 102-yard pick six. The guy looked unreal. The Broncos defense is keeping this team alive. The Broncos look pretty good. I like their offense. Bo Nix isn't playing that bad anymore. He's starting to find receivers. They did have a drop ball in the end zone. The score could have been higher, but the Broncos aren't looking too bad. There's a little altercation. I don't know what was said between Bo Nix and the head coach, Sean Payton, but the Broncos don't look bad. Defense is keeping them around, and the offense is starting to come around. So we'll see how the Broncos do. I mean, that's a tough division that they're in, but we'll see how they do going forward. The Cardinals upsetting the 49ers. I was kind of out on the Cardinals last week. They started off the season pretty hot against the Bills. They kind of fell off a little bit going forward, and then they come back and win against the Niners. Is Brock Purdy ass? The guy was throwing some horrible balls. He's throwing into the defensive line. He's throwing the balls everywhere. He got picked off a couple times, and the Niners lose from ahead. They were up, I believe, something like 17 something by half, and the Cardinals come back and win the game. That messed up a lot of people in suicide picks, a lot of people's parlays. I believe I had the Niners winning on Sunday, and they messed it up for me. Not mad, though, because I almost won the suicide league off that. So Cardinals, they didn't look bad. I still am all in on Kyler Murray until October 25th, I believe, is when Call of Duty 6 comes out. So when Black Ops comes out, we'll see if the Cardinals take a turn for the worst, because Kyler is known for playing video games, especially Call of Duty. So we'll see how that team does in 2 weeks when that game drops. Hopefully he stays off the game until the season's over and they turn their season around. That division is still up for grabs. The Rams don't look bad. The Cardinals don't look bad. The 49ers look pretty bad. They can't find it in them to win on offense. I'm pretty sure we're not going to see Christian McCaffrey until next year. He's got Achilles tendonitis in both legs, and we're starting to see the 2020 graduating class from COVID become doctors, and Christian McCaffrey was told he was going to play week 1, didn't end up playing, and now he has 2 Achilles tendonitis in both legs. So not looking good for the Niners right now. Jordan Mason, he's a great running back. I think they can still get the job done. They just need to figure out what went wrong in that game and turn the season around now. They've almost got beat from comebacks the last 2 weeks. They lost to the Vikings. They acted like they won the Super Bowl against the Patriots. I'm not 100% that the 49ers are going to do great this year. Hopefully they can turn it around. But going forward, they got upset. the Packers versus the Rams. The Rams had a chance at the end to come back. They were driving down the field, getting the right calls, hitting the right guys, and it was a turnover on downs. I was a little upset about that. I could have won suicide this week just off that Rams win, but going forward, I'm going against 3 other people. Hopefully I make the right pick this week and the others don't. So Packers, Rams, Jordan Love doesn't look amazing, but the Packers defense is what's keeping them in these games. Jordan Love and the receiving core, they're not bad, but Jordan Love is still making some pretty new mistakes that we see from last year and years prior. Jordan Love just needs to clean up the mistakes, and they can still turn their season around. The Giants upsetting the Seahawks. No one saw that coming. That was also another bad beat of the week. Another big favorite. I believe the Seahawks were favored by about 7.5 points, and the Giants won outright. Daniel Jones is not ass. The guy had 257 yards for 2 touchdowns, and even without Malik Neighbors, was able to have a great game. I have him over 8.5 interceptions on the whole season. I believe he has 3 right now. He needs to play some better defenses, and we need to see some more interceptions. I don't want them to take him out. I'm glad he had a great game, so that way he stays in that mix-up and he starts as the quarterback. But right now, I still need him to throw a couple more interceptions. The Cowboys-Steelers game, probably the worst game of the week that I watched. I didn't get to watch I didn't get to watch the Patriots versus the Dolphins, but the worst game that I saw this week was that late night Sunday night game, Cowboys-Steelers. That was ass. It got delayed to start. There was rain and lightning. I wasn't sure if they were going to play. And then they finally played the game. And by halftime, I think the score was 6-3. What are we doing? No one wanted to stay up for that. The East Coast, I believe the game started for them around 9 o'clock, almost 10. And Dak Prescott, let's clap it up for the kid. Dak Prescott, first NFL player in history to throw 2 interceptions, one in 2 different days. He threw an interception on October 6th and then again on October 7th. The guy's making history. Dak Prescott threw an interception early in the game. I think it was still around like 10, 11 o'clock on the East Coast, and then threw another interception after midnight on the East Coast to make it 2 interceptions on 2 different days. First guy in NFL history. Let's clap it up for him. Dak Prescott, man. I don't think the Cowboys are going to have a great playoff run. They're competing against the Commanders, the Giants, and the Eagles. That division's a little shaky. I think the Commanders win that division, but maybe the Cowboys get a wild card spot. Eagles don't look great. They had a bye week last week, so hopefully coming off the rest, they have a better week this week, and we'll see them turn their season around. Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Eagles, I think he might be the second coach to be fired this year. We already saw the Jets head coach get fired. I believe it was yesterday. And next up, it's either going to be Nick Sirianni or potentially Doug Peterson. But I think the Jaguars turn their season around and he doesn't get fired. So we'll see how that goes. Nick Sirianni should be on lookout for a new job. I would hit LinkedIn right now and start to look for other head coaching positions, maybe college, high school, something that you can start winning in because you're not built for the NFL. I'm sorry. The Saints, that Monday night game, Saints-Chiefs, Saints are ass. I was very high on them after the first couple games. Again, just like the Bears, they destroyed the Panthers week 1, and then going forward, they had some close games. They started out 2-0 and then just fell apart. I believe they're 2-3 now. They're not looking great. The Saints can't click on offense like they did in the beginning of the season. They've gone against, obviously, some better defenses now, and we can see that even with these star receivers, star running back, Derek Carr can't get the job done. He did get injured on Monday night, so we might see Spencer Rattler starting on Sunday. So it's going to be his first start. He was drafted in this most recent draft. We'll see how he does. But hopefully it's better than Derek Carr. I thought Derek Carr was him after a couple of weeks, and he changed my mind. Derek Carr is not that guy. I'm sorry to the Saints. The Chiefs, now 5-0. Kelsey had a pretty good game. Juju Smith-Schuster is not washed. He had a pretty good game as well. I think he went for about 100 yards, give or take. And Kelsey had a good game. Xavier Worthy had a good game. Kareem Hunt had a good game. So Kareem Hunt, haven't heard that name in years. He gets picked up after some running back injuries in that backfield in Kansas City. They come back around. They're now 5-0. the Chiefs need to be knocked down. Who's going to be the team to do it? I don't know, but the Chiefs are rolling right now. Before I get into next week's matchups, we need to talk a little bit about the MLB. I had some teams moving on that didn't make it. I had the Orioles moving on. They got knocked out against the Royals. I did not have the Tigers moving on. The Tigers moved on. I forget who they played. They moved on. They're now playing the Guardians, who have one of the best bullpens in the league. But right now, the Tigers have a chance to end the series tomorrow. They're up 3-1 right now. They play tomorrow. If the Guardians, they're up 2-1 right now, best of 5. If the Guardians can't figure it out, they will lose tomorrow and Tigers move on. They haven't won a championship in decades, and the Tigers are now pretty close favorites to win the World Series. I have the Guardians winning the World Series. They need to figure it out for tomorrow, but we'll see if the Tigers can get the job done and move. The New York Mets and Grimace move on. We'll clap it up for them. They beat the Phillies today. I believe Francisco Lindor had a grand slam. They were down 1-0 up until the end. Lindor hits a grand slam to go up 4-1. The Mets and Grimace move on. So congratulations to the Mets. Grimace has been keeping them in this. I don't know when he's going to get the start on the bump, but they're doing pretty good right now. The Dodgers-Padres, I believe, is going to be tied up tonight. Dodgers were up 5-0 last I checked in, I believe, the 6th inning. And Padres were up 2-1. So I think it's going to be tied 2-2 going back into LA tomorrow. Actually, no, it's going to be on Friday. So 2-2 back in LA on Friday. We'll see who takes that series. I still have the Padres moving on in that series. And the Yankees versus the Royals, they went up 2-1 today. I believe they also have a chance to end it tomorrow. I will check that out really quickly to see. I believe there's 2 games on tomorrow that we'll see. I think the Yankees, depending on who pitches tomorrow, might lose. I want to see the Royals move on. I don't want to see the Yankees move on. We'll see how that goes. Padres are still down 5-0. And tomorrow we have Yankees-Royals going into Game 4. Yankees can end it tomorrow in Kansas City, but we'll see. It might go back to New York on Friday. Friday game, we have Padres-Dodgers. So MLB right now, nothing like I predicted. Baseball's been weird. Not sure how the games are going to go, but Padres, I need you guys to move on. The Dodgers can't make it to the World Series. We need to see that exit on Friday in LA. So let's go Padres. I'm hoping they pull that off. The NHL started yesterday. My Stanley Cup prediction right now for the NHL, I have the Dallas Stars winning the whole thing. They did get exposed last year, I believe, in the divisional round. They had a chance to come back. They didn't look good at home at all. They got a couple games away and then lost the series, I think 3-1 or 4-1. But I do have the Stars winning the Stanley Cup this year. I have a season-long entry for the NHL that I had placed on Tuesday morning that hopefully we can see go through. I have right now Connor Bedard to go over 35 goals, Alex Ovechkin to go over 30 goals, Macklin Celebrini, the new rookie, over 53.5 points, Jake Ottinger over 35 goalie wins for the Stars, and Wyatt Johnston over 36.5 goals for the Stars. So we need to see Stars legacies this season. I believe the NHL, they play 82 games. We need to see them win this thing. So let's go Stars. Talk about some of the games yesterday. The St. Louis Blues were down to the Kraken at 1.20. They come back and win it 3-2. Jordan Kyrou had a great game, and I won some money on that. I did take the Blues at plus money. The Panthers, they looked exactly like they did last year. They just came off the Stanley Cup. We'll clap it up for them for that Stanley Cup win. The Panthers destroyed the Bruins. I believe at one point it was 6-1, and then they started to play a little slower. Bruins started to come back a little bit. It ended 4-6, but the Panthers still look great. So look for them to be a playoff contender this year. The Chicago Blackhawks, I put some money on them, but they didn't look bad. They started the game off really slow. They had no power play offense going. They couldn't figure out how to move the puck. And Connor Bedard couldn't figure it out in the beginning, but towards the end, they had probably 6 chances to put in the net. They were hitting goalposts. They were having great opportunities to score. They possibly could have tied that game up, but they didn't, unfortunately. So the Blackhawks, we'll see how they do this season. They were a bottom 5 team last season, but they didn't look bad yesterday. So first game of the year, shaking the rust. We'll see how they do. Utah Hockey Club. That's a horrible name. I don't like that Utah didn't come up with a name in time to name it something else. The Utah Hockey Club, they are previously the Arizona Coyotes. No one wanted to buy the team in Arizona. They weren't making any money, so they moved to Utah. Hopefully they change their name. Right now, the biggest favorite is probably the Utah Mammoth, or there's some other ones, but Utah Mammoth or Utah Yeti sounds a lot better than Utah Hockey Club. So hopefully after this season they change the name, because I'm not a big fan of that name. But the Blackhawks, it was close. I definitely thought the Blackhawks were going to do a lot better yesterday. They looked better. They had a better lineup on paper. They couldn't find it till the end and then weren't able to come back. As far as the NFL goes, we'll go back to matchups for this week. I'm excited. They're playing better football now in the NFL. So we see the Niners, who are 2-3, versus the 3-2 Seahawks tomorrow. Both teams who got upset on Sunday. The spread right now is San Francisco by 3.5 points. We'll see how that one goes. Hopefully Brock Purdy figured out what he did wrong this week and turns the game around. I think the Niners win this game. They do have the better defense, but DK Metcalf coming off a bad game, I think he goes nuclear tomorrow, and the Seahawks have a chance to do something great. They could put the 49ers in a 2-4 hole going into week 6. And on Sunday, we have some pretty good matchups. Not excited about that Texans-Patriots, but Drake May's starting, so that'll be a good game. We'll see how he does. The Jaguars-Bears, if the Jaguars turn their season around, it has to be this Sunday. They have to get the win against the Bears. Trevor Lawrence is going against a great defense. We'll see how he plays. If he doesn't play great, Doug Peterson could see the boot, but Bears defense is good. Jaguars 1-4. We'll see if they can turn their season around Sunday by beating the Bears. The Commanders-Ravens game, that'll be a good one. If Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl, they're going to have to knock down the Commanders. Commanders are now 4-1, and the Ravens are 3-2. Lamar turned the season around. I believe they started off 0-2 or 0-3 and 0-2 and has won 3 straight. So Lamar versus Commanders, I think that's going to be a great game. Commanders don't have an insane defense, so Lamar should be able to pick it apart. And the Commanders, vice versa, the Commanders are going up against a pretty good Ravens defense. So I think the Ravens win that game, but they're favored by 6.5 points, and anything over 6 points as of this season, only time will tell. It's been pretty bad for the favorites, favored over 6.5 points. Cardinals-Packers, Green Bay's favored by 5.5 points. I like the Cardinals in this spot. They are coming off an upset against the Niners, and although the Packers own the Niners, I think the Cardinals do have a chance to win this game. It'll be a close game. I think Cardinals can cover that spread by 5.5. So look for them to go to cover. We have the Buccaneers versus Saints. This should be a blowout on the Buccaneers side. Tampa Bay's only favored by 3.5 points. It is a divisional game in New Orleans, but I think the Buccaneers win this game for sure. Baker Mayfield upset with that loss, overtime loss to the Falcons last Thursday. So we'll see if Baker can turn it around against a pretty piss-poor Saints defense and win that game. They should win by way more than 3.5. I like the Tampa Bay spread there. The Eagles versus the Browns. What are we doing? Deshaun Watson settled another sexual assault case, I believe, a couple days ago, and he has more sexual assault cases settled than he has touchdown passes in the last couple seasons. The Browns are 1-4 going against the 2-2 Eagles, who are coming off a bye week. Hopefully they figured it out during the bye week what was going on. Philadelphia is right now favored by 9.5 points, which scares me, but they should win that game on paper. We'll see how it goes. We have the Colts versus the Titans. The Colts, if Joe Flacco's starting, win that game for sure. They're favored. Tennessee's favored by 2.5 points at home versus the Colts. I like the Colts here, although the Titans can't figure it out on offense. We'll see if they can win this game, but if not, they're going down 1-4 this week. The Chargers-Broncos should be a good game. We got good coaching on the Chargers side going against a great defense on the Broncos side. We'll see if Bo Nix can keep up this magic and possibly squeak out a win. Chargers only favored by a field goal at the moment, So we'll see how that game goes. I really do like Chargers to win it, but the Broncos, 3-2 right now, have been turning their season around. The Broncos have potential to upset. Steelers Raiders, probably going to be a pretty bad game. I will not be watching that one. The Raiders starting Aiden O'Connell versus a very dominant Steelers defense is not going to look good. I think the Steelers win by more than 3 points is what they're favored by right now. But I think the Steelers win by at least a touchdown or more. Justin Fields has been playing pretty good. We have the Falcons versus the Panthers this week in Carolina. I think the Falcons win this game. It's Kirktober, like I told you guys earlier. Kirk Cousins will throw his entire heart on the field during the month of October. I don't see the Falcons losing a single game in October during the month of Kirktober. Falcons should win this game. They're favored by 6 points, which scares me also. I do want to take the Falcons for suicide this week, but against the Panthers with Andy Dalton could be a little scary. But they don't have a great defense, so we'll see how that goes. Lions versus the Cowboys. Lions are coming off a bye week, should be fresh. They're favored against the Cowboys at home. What do we know about the Cowboys at home? Cowboys at home have one of the worst records in the NFL. They're not great at home. The Lions are coming there, hopefully win that game by more than 3 points. Cowboys don't look great right now. I think CeeDee Lamb is having a little bit of a fit every game. He's mad about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's hitting the other receivers. They can't establish the run game. I don't know why Zeke is still playing in the NFL. Rico Dowdle, we'll see how he does. But the Lions defense is pretty good. I see the Lions winning this game by more than the spread right now of 3 points. And we have the Bengals versus the Giants in New York. The Bengals have a terrible defense going against Daniel Jones. I need interceptions out of Daniel Jones, and I need a Bengals dub. I want to see this Bengals team win this game. It's a primetime game on Sunday night. Cincinnati's favored right now by 3.5 points. I think that the Bengals win this game. Joe Burrow's talking about turning the season around, and hopefully this is the spot to do it. They can still make the playoffs down 1-4 on the season, but it's going to take getting through the Giants, who just upset the Seahawks. I think Malik Neighbors might be back this week, which is Daniel Jones' favorite target. But again, going against a pretty bad Bengals defense, we'll see how that goes. On Monday night, we have a divisional matchup. The Bills versus the Jets. We have the 3-2 Bills, who have not been playing great. And Josh Allen has not looked good against good defenses versus the Jets, who have a phenomenal defense, but a pretty bad offense. I like the Jets in this spot at home. They should have new head coaching. We'll see how that goes this week. Aaron Rodgers should come off of a pretty bad game and play a lot better. He's getting an extra day of rest coming back from London on a Monday night game. And Buffalo favored by 2.5 points. I bet. We're taking the Jets in this game. I think this is a good spot to take them to tie the series, to tie that division 3-3. I don't think the Bills are going to have a great run. I hope they do. I like the Bills more than I like the Jets. I'm a big Josh Allen fan, but their offense is not looking too great right now. And the Jets have a great defense. So we'll see how that goes. Right now, my favorite bets of the week have to be the Falcons with the points, and also probably the Eagles, but not with the points. It's going to be too much juice to lay on that game straight up, so I'd also stay off of that. I do like Houston to cover the 7 points against the Patriots, but anything over 6 points, as we talked about, is not good. So be careful with the games this week. Don't take any heavy favorites. We need to see some sneaky matchups, some good spots to take. If you're going to take a suicide pick this week, I would almost go with the Bengals, the Falcons, or the Steelers. I think those might be your 3 best bets, or the Buccaneers against the Saints. But everything else I'd kind of stay away from. Could go either way and is scary to take. As far as the MLB goes, we'll see how tomorrow ends up, and we'll see who we're going to see in the next round. But right now, only the Mets have moved on. We'll see if the Tigers can finish it out tomorrow. We'll see if the Yankees can finish it out tomorrow. If not, they will play Saturday, and those 2 series will go 5 games. Right now, the Dodgers are still up 5-0, top 7. I think that game is going to go to Friday in LA. Padres, we need you. In Padres, we trust. I don't like either team, but if I'm going to go with one of them, I want the Padres to knock the Dodgers out. They need to be knocked down. they need to realize that spending that amount of money is not going to get them anywhere. They need the power of friendship on the baseball field, which is what the Padres have right now. They're playing great offense. Obviously, nothing going on in this game. The Padres have been held to 0 runs right now, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, the Padres come back stronger and they put Michael King on the bump on Friday and they win that game in LA. For as far as today's episode, going to be a quick one. Going to end it right here. I will be posting bets on Instagram, so follow us there at NMI Sport Report. Follow me on Twitter at Dcode3, and make sure you share this episode with your friends and let everyone know that the Ravens are winning the Super Bowl. The Dallas Stars are going to win the Stanley Cup, and right now, I think the Padres are winning the World Series. So, thanks for listening today. We'll see you on the next one. We'll probably have an episode with everyone else next week. No, everyone's been kind of busy, so I can't get everyone else on. Had to make an episode this week, get it out of the way. And I hope you guys enjoyed today. We'll talk more about sports and more news on next episode. Until then, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.